of why this program works and what makes this program unique and what makes this program the meals on this program the reason that these meals change your metabolism while they also get your weight down. So they simultaneously will do that. And if those of you that watched the onboarding presentation, I talked about that it's just not about the calories. It's about the combination of both calories and the essential ingredients. And so tonight I'm going to talk about how this works. I'm going to talk about what kinds of substitutions you can make and how you can allow for that extra room for those extra calories, those extra splurges. And I can't see who is all here with me, but of the people that I do see, I do see some members that have been successful and some people that have lost weight over the course of time and who have followed these rules. And they are living testaments of how this works. And on the same token, I see people that are brand new to this process and right now are not that they're questioning it, but you know, at the beginning when the scale's not really moving and you're worried about it, it really does work if you follow the principles of it. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so that I can start the presentation here. And so I named it the perfect plate. All right, so just to make sure everybody could see this, the perfect plate, the must-haves for the metabolic enhancement. Oh no, I have a problem here. Oh, here we go. Okay. Okay, so there are must-haves, and I define these as must-haves because they are the things that you must have in order for your metabolism to become faster. And if you haven't listened to my podcast on this, it's a great one because it literally talks about how you can get your metabolism to increase. Losing weight is not the big secret. It is increasing your metabolic rate. It's not keeping the weight off, it is increase your metabolic rate. You'll get to eat more, you'll get to weigh less, and you'll have to worry less about ever doing this again. All right, so a calorie is not just a calorie. This here is the traditional food pyramid. We grew up with this. I believe it's still taught. I should ask my husband, he's a PE teacher. This is exactly what has been ingrained into our heads. But this is not what is going to help you lose weight. This is not what's going to help you have that balance to have the right weight management in your life. What you need to have is the Get You Fit trifecta. And I find myself calling it that because you have the three things that you have. And it's a balancing act because you do need to have this pyramid. You do need to make sure that you have your fruits and your vegetables and your fats and your proteins and your sugars and all that, all that enjoyable stuff. But you also have to make sure that you have the important things and the essential things. And those are the trifectas that I talk about: the proteins, the fats, and the carbs. So let's see what those are. All right, so buzzwords. First off, these are very dangerous. They are covered all over the grocery store. In fact, the average grocery store has approximately 600,000 items. And of those 600,000 items, 80% of them have labels such as this. And you've seen them. I mean, it'd be very difficult to walk through a grocery store and not see these words. What's difficult about this is they're misleading. On the front, you see real fruit, you see whole grain, you see flax seeds, you see, all the buzzwords, but they're misleading because they're not serving a purpose. 9 times out of 10, the words that are on the front don't display what you're actually getting. And what you're actually getting is on the back. And that's why we should all learn to focus on the labels. And I know that you guys do this. We are programmed to look at the labels. The very first thing we do is we look at the calories, and it's in the huge ginormous letters, calories. That's what we look at. And we've gotten better. We look at protein, we look at carbs, we look at fats, we look at serving sizes. Yes, we've gotten better at that. But the problem is that this does not define essential ingredients versus non-essential ingredients. And the buzzwords of macros, and you guys all know this buzzwords: carbs, proteins, fats, and they're listed right on here. Don't define the macros that I am saying are the essential ones. And there's fat, there's healthy fat, there's unhealthy fat, there's protein that is not going to do anything for you for weight loss, and then there is lean protein that will. There's carbs that are bad carbs, and there are carbs that are good carbs that you can have. And we are a carb phobic society, and so we have to learn the difference. When you look at this label, you only see carbs. You can't define if they're good carbs or if they're bad carbs. And so this is why for my program, I teach not just the grams, I teach what the essentials are versus the non-essentials. And I hope that everybody eventually can identify them just by seeing them, and not letting the buzzwords be the cause for you and your frustration. So, ready for the bad news? The bad news is macro confusion. So when there is macro confusion, people quit. And we have here this person who is most likely something that you and I have done before. We have quit. We have all of these different macro charts here that show all the different, let me go back to that, all the different, oopsie, malfunction, all the different macros. And oh man, am I going to be able to go back now? Let's try that again. They have all these different macros, but they don't make any sense to us because we don't understand them. We have this one here that shows the fat and forget it. There we go. The different fat, the different carbs, the different proteins. This one here shows 15%. This one here shows 25%. This one here shows 30%. We don't know what we're supposed to get. And anybody that's ever tried to do macros this way will end up being confused. So this is the realistic and sustainable way to do it. And this is the way that I'm teaching you to do it. And those of you that have been with me long enough know how to do it this way. The must-haves: we have protein, we have carb, and we have fat. No different than those macro charts, except I'm teaching you how to define them in a way that you can look at your plate and tell if it's perfect. So I have 3 meals here. And these are meals that you might identify, let's just say at a restaurant or at a dinner party or at a buffet on vacation. And I'm going to show you how these meals have the must-haves. The first one here is meatballs, and looks like rice. So with the meatballs and rice, I have the meatballs, and what you don't know is in the recipe of the meatballs, I have ground beef, which is my protein, made with eggs, which is my healthy fat, and my rice is my carb. And also I have olive oil in the meatball. So this here, this meal, if given with the right portions, is a perfect plate. It has all three. It has the trifecta. Okay. Looking at this middle one, we have pork, we have rice, and we have sesame seeds sprinkled on there. And it was prepared with olive oil. So we have the trifecta. We have the protein, we have the carb, and we have the fat. And if you look at the portions of this, it's all done in the right amounts. The protein is approximately 4 ounces. The rice is approximately a half a cup. The olive oil and sesame seeds comes out to be about 100 calories worth. And all these extra greens you can have, because looking at your meal plan and your nutritional booklet, greens are unlimited. So if you had this perfect plate, you would be enticing and enhancing your metabolism. And then finally here, this third one, the egg is your protein. The sweet potato is your carb. The greens are unlimited and extra, and the yolk in the egg serves as the fat. So again, another perfect plate. So as you can see here, these three are perfect and very realistic, very sustainable. All right, so all of your meals are built this way. When you join my program, and all the meals are given to you from month 1 till month whatever, as far as they go, they're all constructed this way. You can nitpick at them and try to figure out what the fat is and what the protein is and what the carbs is. They're all there. In the dinner recipes, they're all weaved in there, just like the meatball recipe that I showed you. You could dig deep into figuring out that the yolk is the fat, the olive oil is the fat, but it's in there. Someone posted on Facebook the other day, what's the fat in this recipe? And someone else chimed in and said, oh, it must be the egg in the meatball. You don't have to worry. If it's one of my recipes, if it is something on my blog, if it is something on anything that I have given you, eat it. You're good. You don't have to worry. If it's something that you are putting together yourself or substituting, then that's when you need to worry. That's when you need to kind of go, oh, I don't have a healthy fat, or I don't have a carb. And I've had a lot of people ask that. So for example, the Get You Fit omelet for month 1 does not have a carb. So leave it that way. Don't add a carb if there isn't one in that meal as I gave it to you. So don't disrupt it. Don't disrupt the formula if I've given it to you that way. But if you're creating your own, then it should have the Get You Fit trifecta. So this one here, and this is a photo taken by a member. I don't know if she's watching. But we have the yogurt, which is the protein. We have the nuts, which is the fat. And we have the blueberries, which is the fruit, but this also serves as the carbohydrate. In this case, there is no complex carb, so you should not add one. This one here, the salad, we have the protein, which is the chicken, the fat, the nuts, the fat. And in this case here, there is no carb, so you should not add one. Now, not to be confused for it, the apple is a carb, but it's not a complex carb. And that's why I wanted to have this discussion tonight. And I'm going to get to fruit a little bit later, because there's a difference between fruit, which is a simple sugar, simple carb, and a complex carb. Like I said, these don't have a complex carb, but these were recipes that were on the meal plan. So you should not worry about adding or omitting anything. And then this one here is I believe this is the happy oats possibly. And we have the yogurt and the apples, and I believe there's chia seeds or something in here. But the reason I brought these three up is because of the fruit. In all three of these, if you want to change out the fruit, you could swap out the fruit. But fruit is actually considered a non-essential. And so for all three of these, if you want to take out the fruit because you don't want it, and you want to save your calories for later, or you just don't feel like having fruit, or your fruit was out of season, you don't have to include the fruit. It's non-essential. The other things, the protein and the fats, must be there. There are must haves. So what I'm saying is you can't just have a bowl of berries, and you can't have a salad without the protein. And you can't have a bowl here without of just chopped apples, because then you're not getting the essentials, and the essentials is what's going to help your metabolism, and help you lose weight. Okay, and this is going to all come together when I get to that portion. Okay, so essential ingredients must be present at all meals. So first I'm going to talk about protein. Proteins are kind of crossover, and there are some things that do kind of overlap. Oftentimes I hear people say, well, I really needed some protein, so I had some peanut butter. I really needed some protein, so I had some cheese. Um, Correct, those are protein sources. However, they're not enough of a protein to qualify as a protein. And in the case of cheese, it doesn't fall into the category of a healthy protein. It's considered an unhealthy fat. So this is where it gets confusing, and this is where there's a little bit of a learning curve, but I promise once you learn this, it will just become second nature to you. So first off, rule of thumb, and please don't make yourself crazy about this, approximately 20 to 30 grams of protein should be present in each meal. Your meals are already set for this, so don't panic if you're at 18. You could be at 18. It's okay to be at 18. Approximately is what you should be at. Your snack should be approximately 12 to 15. Now, if you have a snack where your protein's only 5, then you probably did something wrong. If you had a meal where your protein was only 8, then you probably did something wrong. And so in that case, when I look at Fitness Pal and I go through and I'm looking at entries, that's what I look for. That's what stands out for me. All right. The next thing is these are your protein sources. We have animal protein, sources of protein, and these are your main ones. Obviously, your meats, cottage cheese, eggs, Greek yogurts, seafood. These are all the common ones. Tofu's not on here, but obviously tofu. Oh, it's right here. These are plant sources. All right, so this I need to point out because we have quinoa that is a source of protein. However, you have to be really careful because 1 cup of quinoa is 400 calories. And 400 calories worth of quinoa is only giving you maybe 18 to 20 grams of protein, where you're getting 20 grams of protein in 150 calories of animal on this side. Okay, so you have to stay within your calories. So if you're trying to hit 20 by eating quinoa, you're going to go over your calories. So you have to be really, really careful with your choices because you're going to go over your calories if you're not. Beans qualify. Hemp seeds, rolled oats. Again, there's such a tiny, tiny, tiny amount of protein in oats in comparison to fish or eggs, that you would have to eat a lot of oats to equal 20 grams of protein. In fact, you would go way over your calories, way over your carbs, and therefore gain weight. So I don't consider oats a protein source. I consider that a carb. And so on your macro exchange sheet, I've listed all of the protein sources. And those protein sources I've selected because they are high in protein and low enough in calories to get you to that 20-30 zone per meal and 12-15 zone per snack without you going over your calories. Okay. The nuts and the seeds and the peanut butters, yes, those are proteins. But 1 tablespoon of peanut butter is 100 calories and 4 grams of protein. You would have to eat 500 calories worth of peanut butter to hit your 20-25. And so, and not to mention the amount of fat that you would go over. So this does not count as a source of protein, and neither do those. So those count as a fat. Granted, if you add peanut butter to your protein smoothie, you're gonna get a little bit more protein in that smoothie, which is a bonus. But it's okay to go over your 20. But you shouldn't have your whole smoothie be, obviously nuts. Okay. All right. So next thing, healthy fats. Same thing, you have to stay within your calories, and you want to be between 10 and 15 for each meal, 8 to 10 for each snack. Why don't I have this written down somewhere? I have a really good reason for that, because this is not a formula. You don't have to be 10 to 15. You could be anywhere in that range. You could be, for a breakfast, you could be 6. For a lunch, you could be 20. And I feel that if I write this down and if I have people think that they have to stay with these macros for each meal and snack, that it's going to cause this restrictive environment. So instead, what I've done was on your macro exchange sheet, I have put on there healthy fat, approximately 100 calories worth. To me, that's so much easier to calculate. 100 calories is 1 tablespoon of peanut butter. 100 calories is, 100 calories worth of avocado. Instead of trying to figure out how much avocado, put the avocado on the food scale, figure out what 100 calories worth. 100 calories is a tablespoon of an oil, and 100 calories worth of nuts. So to me, that's easier to live your life than trying to figure out grams. And I say this because the number one cause of people not being able to keep their weight off is this calculations and trying to live your life in the future, trying to figure things out. Okay, so stay within your calories. Make sure you have a healthy fat at each of your meals. And I need to also remind you that cheese is not a healthy fat. Cheese is an accessory. It's a non-essential. You can have it, but it is not there to help you lose weight. And one way I like to help people remember this is, if it comes from an animal, unless it's the only exception is the yolk, all other fats are healthy, with the exception of the yolk. So you could see here, these are all non-animal fat sources. They're nuts, they're seeds, they're oils, and the oils are from plants. They're olive, they're grapeseed. So when you start getting into cheese, butter, all of those are considered the unhealthy fats, and those will not help you lose weight. Again, you can have them, but in moderation. So here are some examples of some other oils. sesame oil, peanut oil, hemp seed oil, avocado oil. These are all appropriate uh, sources of fat. MCT oil, if you don't know what that is, it's basically palm oil and coconut oil mixed. It's tasteless and people add it to their food. And so now let's talk about the not so good fats. So these are the fats that actually clog your arteries. There's the saturated fats that are the ones that are the bad fats. And this is what gives you cholesterol. And these are these here, the orange section. These are found in your meat, your butter, your dairy products. Okay, so all of those fats are saturated. And again, you can have them and they're on your meal plan, but if you notice, they're all on there in moderation. Uh, Quarter cup of cheese here, some sprinkles of feta. That is not going to hurt you. And if you have them in small moderations, it's not going to hurt your waistline either. But if you start adding that up and putting more and more on, that's where you tend to get into trouble. Also, a good way to know which ones are saturated is they turn solid in room temperature. So cheese, animal fat will coagulate; it'll turn solid. Butter, those will all turn solid. That is saturated. Think of that happening to your arteries. That is what causes heart problems. So the saturated fats is what you want to stay away from. Okay. Now we have unsaturated fats. These are the good cholesterols. These are vegetable oils, and these are the ones that are the good, the LDLs that are broken down and eventually removed from your body. Okay, and the unsaturated fats are found actually in some vegetables. All right, so now let's talk about the non-essential ingredients. So what happens if there's cheese on your omelet and you just don't feel like having it? Or there's cheese on your sandwich and you just don't feel like having it? Or there's apple on your sandwich and you opt to not have it? Those are non-essentials. You can omit them and save those calories for later in the day. They don't roll over. You could save them for later in the day. And if you calculate out how much you're saving, it's not much, but it'll chalk up to 100, a couple hundred. So these are non-essential ingredients that you can omit. You cannot omit the essential ingredients. So what I mean by that is, again, you can't pull the chicken off your salad. You can't pull the nuts off your smoothies or your yogurts. Those are essential. Those must be there. If you pull those out to save calories, your plan will backfire because you're replacing something really, really good for your metabolism with a splurge, and that can't happen. When we are replacing a non-essential with another non-essential, it's an even trade. So that's why that's allowed. Okay. And there they are, my two favorites. All right, so let's talk about carbs. 60% of Americans are carb phobic. I am a former carb phobic person. I think I didn't eat carbs for 20 years. I ran probably my first 35 marathons with not eating carbs until the night before. I was deathly afraid of eating carbs, and it's because of my misunderstanding of how it works. There are good carbs and there are bad carbs. Carbs aren't bad. Too much of carbs are bad, but too much of anything is bad. You should get about 20 to 30 grams per meal. And as the day goes on, that's about 100 to 130 grams total. If you're getting 300 carbs a day, then that's too much. 10 to 15 per snack. So to give you an idea, your oatmeal is about 20. That's not much. So what's not good is sugar, and that's where the confusion lies. Uh, Carbs, overconsumption of carbs, if you eat 300 grams of carbs, that will eventually metabolize to a sugar, which will turn into a fat. Your liver will your it will run through your pancreas, through your liver, through your it will turn into um, fat. But if you keep your carbs at a appropriate level, then your body will actually use that for energy. Good carbs, the complex carbs, are harder to digest. These are the carbs that are on your meal plan: the oats, um, pasta, rice, quinoa, all of those carbs, bread. Um, if you eat the proper amounts, your body will burn them slow while they're digesting. You will feel full for longer periods of time. And there's natural sugars in these carbs, but this sugar is not going to cause your blood sugar to spike. And so what that will do is help you actually lose fat. And those are all the good carbs. Now there's the bad carbs. And the bad carbs are your sugars. Those are your candies and your donuts and all of your treats. And I know a donut might be made with flour, which is a good carb before you put all the sugar in it. But so there's a fine line there. But a simple sugar, simple carb, basically when you eat it, it goes right to your bloodstream, and it digests right away. So you eat it, boom, it's right to your bloodstream. It doesn't burn much as calories, and it makes you actually hungrier. It gives you an instant burst of energy, but then you crash. And I'm also a former sugaraholic. I used to need sugar all the time. I had sugar all over the gym when I used to be a trainer. I mean, I had like Tootsie Rolls and Tootsie Pops, and I mean, my gosh, there were wrappers everywhere. And I had no idea that I had this addiction. But every day I would crash and I would just need this horrific nap. And it was because your blood sugar spikes when you have that sugar, and then what goes up must come down. And interestingly, now I am so baffled by this, but I have no desire to eat sugar. In fact, my husband and I went to Costco today, and I grabbed some chocolate covered raisins for my daughter. She needed them for something, and they're sitting in the car, and I'm like, how do I not want these? I really just had no desire, and those are my favorite in the whole world. I've just broken it completely. And if you have a sweet tooth, the only way to get rid of it is to cold turkey it, and it really will work. So there is a huge difference between a good carb and a bad carb. So let me explain this here. Here is your blood sugar. When you have a sugar, it spikes up like I showed you, and then suddenly you crash. And as you can see here, this is within the hour. Now you are down low, low, low in the dumps. Now you're actually hungrier. You're tired, and you're looking for more sugar. You're looking for more energy, and this is this cycle that just doesn't end. If you are eating a complex carb, like the ones on your plan, um, you are staying, it digests slow. It is a very steady. So here's your 2 hours. And at the 2 hour mark, that is when it's time to eat again. So basically what you're doing is you're staying very steady, and you're not getting those spikes. This helps with hunger. It helps with your metabolism. So these are the complex carbs. Your whole grains, your oats, your brown rice, your quinoa, pastas, potatoes. Now, banana happens to be on this list. That is a complex carb. It is also a sugar. Peas is a starch, but yes, it is considered a complex carb. So these are all your complex carbs. And then we have these. So the French fries, you could actually have those if you bake them or air fry them, because the fact that they're on here, I think I might have just pulled a junk food picture. All right, so let's talk about fruit. Nature's candy. Well, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but sugar is sugar, whether it's natural or not. And this is a really hard topic for me to have to share with people that love fruit. And I'm not telling you it's bad, because it's very good for you. There's a lot of great qualities about it, lots of minerals, lots of vitamins. However, extremely high in sugar. And that's why you don't see a ton of it on your meal plan, because when it boils down to it, what it's going to do is it's going to spike your blood sugar, and it's going to produce that spike that we saw back here, which it'll be too hard for me to find it. So, so we want to keep you stable. That's why when you see fruit on your plan, it's usually a berry, an apple, a pear. Those have lower sugars and higher protein, fiber. So when the fiber is high and the sugar is low, that causes less of a spike. If you take something like cherries, they have an extremely high sugar. I love cherries so much. In fact, they're so impossibly hard to stop eating. One day on the way home from the fire department that I was training, I stopped at Aldi and I grabbed some cherries, and I think I ate, I don't know, like 40-ish of them on the way home. And I actually counted the seeds. That's how I know I had 40, because, you're just kind of, so I get home and I'm like, wow, like this was a great experiment. So I counted the seeds and I had 40. So I went on Fitness Pal and I looked up that I had 200 calories of cherries, which wasn't the end of the world, but 32 grams of sugar, 52 carbs. So now I'm going, oh man, that's a lot. So then I go on Fitness Pal and I looked up the almighty Snicker bar, which I eat before every marathon for sugar. And oops, let's go back. I hit it too fast. Where did it go? Malfunction. A Snicker bar has 10 less grams of sugar than my bowl of cherries. True story. There it is. 245 calories. However, the sugars are lower, and so are the carbs. So this just goes to show you how deceiving this is. Not to mention that I got a little more protein in the Snicker bar, and in a million years, I would never have thought to eat a Snicker bar. In 7 million years, I would have never thought to eat a Snicker bar. Granted, the cherries had vitamin C and all these great minerals. The Snicker bar did not. But my point is, that's a lot of sugar. And there's more bad news in that. And that is this amazing fruit. Anybody want to take a guess at how many calories one watermelon has? Yep, true story. One watermelon is 2,000 calories, and that doesn't seem that outrageous, because who would eat a whole watermelon? Well, eating a quarter of a watermelon is not hard to do. I mean, that's 500 calories, and when you consider how much sugar is in this, it's actually double the amount of the cherries. So it's not just water, it's actually a lot of sugar. And this is a huge misconception that people make when they are looking at fruit. So balance is not what we have thought all these years. It's not about the fruits and the grains and the vegetables and the protein. What it is about is the trifecta: the fat, the healthy fat, the protein, the right portion of protein, and the carb, which is missing in this picture. So on your macro exchange sheet, which you received, and this should be like all over, like blown up on your refrigerator, I have highlighted the best sources of protein. I've highlighted the best fat sources, and I've even wrote on here the calorie range that you should try and stay within. If you're going to have olives for your fat, for me to say 10 medium olives, that's so ambiguous. Medium, how do you know? So instead, 80 to 100 calories of olives. And 80 to 100 calories of all of this. This is where you're going to fall. Essential ingredients right here, 100 to 120 calories of a carb. And these are all of the carbs that you should be having. If they fall in the white category, these are all non-essentials. So if you see anything on your plan that's in one of these categories, a fruit, cheese, salad dressing, and you don't want to include it, you want to pull that out and save the calories for later, especially if you're somebody that's just scraping by your calories, then you can absolutely do that. You do not have to have any of the things that are on your meal plan that are non-essentials. When you go on your Fitness Pal, how is that teeny tiny? When you go on your Fitness Pal, you may have noticed that you have your macro pie at the very bottom, and I'm just going to show you here. Why is this showing it so little? Unknown user. Have I been kicked out of Fitness Pal? Where did it go? Okay. At the very bottom of your Fitness Pal, it has you. It shows you your pie, your little pie. Oh, here we go. It shows you your little pie. I'm going to pull mine up here in a second. I don't want you to worry about that because I'm going to show you why. When I put in, I'm going to go back to a day that I have filled in here. 1 second. There we go. I'm going to go back to a day that I have filled in. Sorry, guys, I haven't been logging. You caught me. Okay. So if I go here and I look at this, although this looks great, right? I'm looking very proportioned. If you're not eating the right fats, it's still going to show your fat percentage. So I had avocado and it put it in as a fat, but if I take out the avocado and I put in butter, which is not allowed, my Fitness Pal's like, you're eating butter? I've never seen you eat butter before. Okay, so I just replaced it with butter, and look at it. It added the butter. Now my pie looks the same, but I just added an unhealthy fat. So looking at this is completely irrelevant. If you understand what I'm saying. So again, if you put in a healthy carb, like your oats, pick out my oats, and I replace my oats with an unhealthy carb. Let's put in a Snicker bar instead. So about the same amount of calories of a Snicker bar. So I'm basically replacing a carb for a carb. Pie looks the same, counted as a carb, but it's not. So don't focus on that pie. This is a free app. It suits its purpose. It's fantastic for this part, but when you get into this part, it cannot register. If you went out for Chinese food and had fried rice, it's not going to know that that fried rice is an unhealthy carb and fat. So don't freak out at the pie. Okay, just focus on the essentials and what I've taught you. Trust the process, follow the meal plan, and it really does work. And as you get your feet wet, as you get more acclimated to this, it'll start to make sense. It becomes second nature. It really does. So I conclude my presentation, and I'm going to let you guys ask questions if you have any. So I'll have you guys unmute yourselves if you do have questions, just because there's a lot of you here and I don't want a lot of background noise. So questions?
I have a question. Does canola oil count as a healthy oil?
Canola oil is corn, and it actually is considered a saturated fat, so it's considered an unhealthy fat.
Okay.
I have a question about coconut oil, because coconut oil, it solidifies that you can melt it. So how does that fit?
That one is a very controversial one in the nutritional world. It actually is considered a saturated fat. It is considered one that will clog your arteries, and it's considered one that is a non-healthy fat. So which is crazy because it's such a buzz now, and it's healthy, but if you have too much of it, the American Heart Association and anybody that has heart issues, any cardiologist will tell anybody that has heart issues to stay away from excess coconut oils. So
I just made your cheese biscuits tonight for the first time. And
you did?
Yes. Well, they're cooking right now, so we'll hope they turn out. But it called for either that or olive oil. So would olive oil been a better choice?
So if you are, the biscuit itself is not a meal. So either or in that case.
Okay.
But the avocado oil would have worked as well. Okay. Yeah. And the coconut oil, I will say, there's a lot of nutritionists. If you're using it in moderation, it's not going to hurt you. Here's the gist on the coconut oil. It's been known to help the metabolism. If you don't have a heart issue, go ahead and use it as a healthy fat, but it does solidify and it is considered saturated.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Are you talking about the savory muffins that you made? Will you do me a favor and send me a picture of those when they're done? I had somebody, I don't know if she's watching tonight, make them, and they completely bombed, and I wasn't sure what to tell her.
Okay.
So
I didn't put any extra vegetables or meat in, but
she didn't either. So yeah.
Okay. All right. I will.
Okay. Any other questions?
I have one question.
Yeah.
So snacks, one of the snacks, I think it's in meal one, it's an apple with 15 almonds and like a string cheese or something. I don't do dairy, as you know, so sometimes I'm not able to grab the apple, but I've been eating like the vegan cheese, and I've been counting that as a fat, but should I not? Because they start with oils, so I didn't know.
The cheese in that snack is not considered is not the fat anyways. It's
the almonds.
So the cheese is just there for fun.
Okay.
Yeah. So you're fine with that. You could do the vegan cheese. I've been having some of my dairy-free clients do egg instead too, if you wanted to do egg instead of the cheese. So you could do egg, nuts, and apple if you wanted, or egg, cheese and nuts.
Okay, thanks.
Well. Anyone else? Anyone else? No,
I think
no more?
someone was trying to say something, but it wasn't coming across.
Yeah, I hear that. It's sounding very robotic. I can't tell who it's coming from. No, I can't tell who that's coming from. Was that Cheryl?
Does this sound better?
No, it sounds super creepy, but we could understand you now.
I was wondering about hummus.
Hummus. Okay, that's a great question. Hummus is I don't know why I don't have this published somewhere. Hummus is considered hummus is made out of nuts and tahini, and tahini is sesame seed paste. So sesame seeds are a healthy fat. So they're one, it could be a fat, but then the other product that it's made with is there's olive oil in there, so again a fat. But then there's also garbanzo beans, which is an excellent protein source. But the problem is this: there's not enough protein in a serving of hummus to qualify it as a protein, and there's not enough fat in a serving of hummus to qualify it as a fat. So it's kind of like in limbo. And the problem, the biggest problem is that one ounce of hummus, which is a shot glass, which I don't have down here, for, you know, why would I not have a shot glass in my office? One shot glass of hummus has 100 calories. So for that 100 calories, you're not getting, you know, your 20 grams of protein. You're not getting your 10 grams of fat. So it's kind of, it's an essential. And I need to actually put it on the essential list because it really is an essential. So I told somebody this week, and this is the perfect way to word it: treat hummus like mayonnaise. It's very caloric, and it's, yes, you are getting some benefits from it. You're getting, you know, a little bit of healthy fat, a trace of it. You're getting a trace of protein, a trace. But what you're getting is a bulk of it is calories. So just like mayonnaise, when we put mayonnaise on a sandwich, you know how we're like, oh gosh, we gotta be real careful. This is all calories. That is how our mindset should be with hummus. And if you haven't watched my presentation, I'm gonna do another one this program where I weigh and measure things. I actually put hummus on the food scale, and I put 60 calories worth of hummus on a red pepper that I was able to spoon into my mouth. So the entire thing was 60 calories worth. And it's very eye-opening when you see how little you get. So does that answer your question? It's kind of like the peanut butter is not enough to count it as protein, sort of thing. So just be careful with it. And especially the chocolate hummus.
That sounds terrible. Chocolate hummus.
You know, I agree. That one just doesn't get to me, but yeah.
I have a question.
Hummus, it does go down really easy if you like it. Yeah. Carol?
I have a question about crackers. How do they fit into complex carbs, or what are they?
Well, that's a slippery slope. So I leave those off because it's such a slippery slope. If it is a whole grain cracker, and Costco's got a ton of them that are like all, you know, seeds and grains and you know, fantastic, then oh boy, my computer is going to sleep. Hang on a second, I better cancel that. It's not used to me being up this late. If it's one that is fortified with all of the right nutrients, then yes. But here's the other problem: making sure that you are getting the right amount. Because oftentimes when you get these crackers, on the back it'll say 1 ounce is 130 calories. Well, it's really ambiguous. So it's a very slippery slope. And I would say that until you are at your at the point of maintenance or very close to your maintenance weight, I would treat crackers as your like extra, because it could be really dangerous. Also, when you look at the carbs on the back, you want to look at the sugar amounts, not just the carbs. Look at the sugars. But if it's something you really, really want, and you're a loyal, you've been with me long enough, shoot me the box and I'll clear it. But most of the time, the buzzwords distract people, and they're not worth compromising your diet for, especially that and hummus. Be done.
Just so you know, I just saw the muffins, or the cheese, whatever these things are, the savory cheese things. I just looked at them. They look beautiful.
Oh,
How
good.
they taste, I don't know, but they look beautiful.
Okay, good. Well, they usually turn out, so yeah. Any other questions? Nope. All right. So live workout tomorrow. Be there. Laura in the pink. 7 o'clock tomorrow, live workout.
Too early.
Come on. Early. I'll be up
Really?
for like 5 hours by then.
Maybe I'll see.
Okay, we'll see. Well, you know what, since I have a lot of you here, I moved my office to the gym. So I had once done Zoom workouts. So I could probably do that again, but I don't want to do it yet till tomorrow. But I'll put out a survey and see how many of you guys would want to do Zoom, because what I was doing was people would Zoom in. I would do live with one screen and then Zoom with the other. And that's kind of fun, because then I could see you, you could see me. And my gym is just right over, here's over the corner there. There it is. There's the Ignite studio. There it is. So I just secretly live down here now. Anyways, all right, you guys, so I'll see you bright and early. If not, this will be recorded, and so will the workout. And I'm gonna email both of them out tomorrow. Okay. And next presentation is next week, Tuesday, same time. Okay.
Thank you.
Guys, bye.
Bye.
See ya.